Live, local, late breaking. WPBF 25 News at 6 starts now.
Right now at 6, the start of a second Trump presidency. We are live in Washington, D.C. with a look at the inauguration and the impact of the executive orders already being signed.
And the cold continues here across South Florida. One more front bringing in another dose of Arctic air. The forecast straight ahead.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
First at 6, a historic inauguration day in our nation's capital. Donald Trump taking the presidential oath of office for a second time, now serving as the 47th President of the United States alongside Vice President J.D. Vance. Good evening. I'm Felicia Rodriguez.
And I'm Tiffany Kenny. Thank you so much for joining us right now at 6 o'clock. The day's events highlighting a peaceful transition of power as President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden hosted the Trumps for tea at the White House before the inauguration ceremony. Hours later, the Bidens departed D.C. Former President Joe Biden sharing a final farewell to members of his administration at Joint Base Andrews.
We never, never, never give up. Never. We're leaving office. We're not leaving the fight.
Taking a live look now at the White House as Donald Trump's second presidency begins to take shape tonight, just moments after his inauguration. The president promising the American people swift changes.
A tide of change is sweeping the country. Sunlight is pouring over the entire world. And America has the chance to seize this opportunity like never before.
We have live team coverage tonight as we take a look back at Trump's first term and the impacts on Palm Beach County as we look ahead to another 4 years. And as Donald Trump signs those day one executive orders, how are people in South Florida reacting?
First, we want to go to our co-anchor Todd McDermott, who is live on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. And Todd, it was a historic day and already major changes coming in the first hours of the Trump administration.
Well, Tiffany, Felicia, hello from the quiet and mostly dark House Rayburn office building right across from the Capitol. This is an inauguration unlike any other we have seen in many, many decades. On an icy 10-degree wind chill day outside, Donald Trump was sworn back into office before hundreds of people in the warm, crowded Capitol Rotunda instead of hundreds of thousands of people out on the National Mall. He called this Liberation Day for America, which also means he has the freedom to go ahead and make some drastic changes for this country.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
The newly sworn-in President Donald Trump put the nation and the world on notice. His promises, his vision to transform America begin immediately.
It was impossible for me to stage such a historic political comeback. But as you see today, here I am. The American people have spoken.
Not unspoken, President Trump's contempt for the leadership of the man who pushed him out of office 4 years ago.
We now have a government that cannot manage even a simple crisis at home.
A wave of Trump executive orders begin a transformation. Sentence commutations for January 6th criminal offenders, declaring a national emergency to send U.S. troops to the southern border, ending DEI policies and protections, renaming the Gulf of Mexico and a mountain. He called it all a, quote, revolution of common sense, promising America will win like never before.
The 4 greatest years in American history.
And while expressing the goal of being a peacemaker and a unifier, the president also spoke of betrayal tied to his criminal situations, his indictments, legal losses, and that conviction in New York. He also talked, though, of sunshine and a golden age coming for America. Back in power, the president said God spared him during last summer's assassination attempt so he could save this country. Now, a lot of the goals that President Trump laid out today began as promises he did make on the campaign trail. now he's taking aggressive, immediate action through executive order to make good on many of those promises. Let's look at that list for you tonight. First, the border and the undocumented. President Trump says the process will begin to send anyone in this country illegally back to their country of origin. That could happen within days, while also reinstating a Remain in Mexico policy for those who arrive at the border seeking asylum and ending the catch and release of migrants as they await adjudication on customs and being brought into the country through immigration. President Trump also said drug cartels will be designated as foreign terrorist organizations. He's also suspending refugee resettlements, saying this has put too much of a strain on American communities and jeopardized safety. The economy, also a major focus of the Trump campaign. Today, he declared a national energy emergency to increase American energy exports, rolling back the limits on offshore drilling and natural gas drilling in this country, and repealing the Biden administration's rules and incentives on the sale and manufacture of electric vehicles to change the game when it comes to car sales and truck sales. He says all this will create more choices for the American consumer. President Trump, as we mentioned, will also pardon non-violent January 6th defendants and commute the sentences of those who were convicted of more serious charges, meaning they will be released and soon. There are among 1,600 cases that were tied to the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. Some other announcement from President Trump today: he plans to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America, again by executive order. He touched on the goal of expanding space exploration to Mars, did so with Elon Musk, the owner of SpaceX, in the audience, and planting the American flag there on the surface of Mars, as NASA astronauts did on the moon back in 1969. And his administration will also make it official that government policy will read there are only two genders. All eyes, of course, will be on Palm Beach as well as they were during the first Trump term when President leaves Washington to go back to Palm Beach in his home at Mar-a-Lago. Our investigative reporter Terry Parker is live in Mar-a-Lago tonight after speaking with Sheriff Rick Bradshaw from Palm Beach County about the changes this time around. And Terry, it sounds as if security around the president will be a far different and maybe more frequent operation for the sheriff and his deputies.
Yes, thank you, Todd. I did speak to Sheriff Rick Bradshaw today. He tells me that they have ramped up security in the past year, and he says they are well equipped to protect the president here in Palm Beach County. And he says one reason is they've already had experience with Donald Trump inviting world leaders here to Mar-a-Lago. Now that Donald Trump is president again, the focus on Palm Beach County becomes even sharper.
Because he is such a high-profile figure in the world, whatever he does here and whenever he's here, you know, the world is going to be watching.
Sheriff Rick Bradshaw has been helping protect Trump for the past decade, and he expects the president to spend a lot of time at Mar-a-Lago despite his residence at the White House. And along with those visits, hosting world leaders.
We have to be right. We have to make sure he's safe. We have to make sure that wherever he goes, we're going to do it right, make sure that nothing happens to him. And we will do that. We got a good track record. We work really good with the Secret Service here. So we're prepared to do whatever we need to do.
During Trump's first term, he brought Chinese President Xi Jinping to Palm Beach, a huge security concern.
We had about almost 3,000 protesters, but, you know, we used barriers to, control a lot of them. Really good barriers, not the kind you can get around. And, we got a lot of manpower. We used some deputies from Broward to make sure we had enough. And we had a good game plan, and it worked out really good. We didn't have any problems at all.
Sheriff Bradshaw says he and the Secret Service were already giving Trump presidential level security after 2 assassination attempts, one right here in Palm Beach County in September. So he says the only difference now will be a larger motorcade. The cost for all the security is enormous, and Bradshaw is working to get repaid by the federal government.
I've already talked with the director up there and some senators, and they understand, how much money we've spent since he became a candidate up to today, and they assured us that we're going to get our money back.
And Bradshaw tells me they've already spent about $13 million since Trump was campaigning, and he expects that cost over the next 4 years to go up to about $40 million. So he is working on getting that money. Meantime, of course, though, our area is experiencing what is known as the Trump bump. That is all of the tourism that comes here, the businesses who have flocked here, the people who simply want to be around this epicenter of power. That helps our bottom line with our economy. Back to you, Todd.
All right, Terry, sounds like they'll have many more chances to see President Trump than they did during that first term in Palm Beach County as well. Terry, thank you so much for that. Now, members of the GOP who aren't here for the inaugural festivities today in Palm Beach County gathered today to watch the inauguration. They were there together. Rachel Perry joined them. And Rachel, we heard about those executive orders, and I'm sure there were some pretty strong and probably exuberant reactions to some of what already took place today in the first hours of this new Trump presidency.
Well, Todd, we asked them which of those promises they value most. The majority said immigration and the economy, but we also heard a lot about hoping he'll be able to bring the country back together again. Cheers filled the building as President Donald Trump is sworn in as the nation's 47th president.
It's his chance. He was duly elected by the American people in this country. He needs to be given the opportunity to serve and do what he said he was going to do.
Carl Castillo is the newly elected chairman of the Republican Party of Palm Beach County. Now, the White House put out a release Monday outlining President Trump's America First priorities. Of those include the following. President Trump will take bold action to secure our border and protect American communities. This includes ending Biden's catch and release policies, reinstating Remain in Mexico, building the wall, ending asylum for illegal border crossers, cracking down on criminal sanctuaries, and enhancing vetting and screening of aliens. Writing all agencies will take emergency measures to reduce the cost of living, and President Trump will announce the America First trade policy. WPBF 25 News asked Castillo and several other attendees which of the president's promises they value most. Immigration and the economy took first place.
Freeing up the oil industry, making sure that we free up our economy with the heart blood of the economy, which is oil, and it always has been.
Number one, close the border. Can't have open borders. Without borders, you don't have a country. Deport the illegal criminals. There's a lot of them all over the country.
What's the top one for you?
For me, it's bringing the country back together. I think he's more of a person that can actually bring the country back together, both sides, be all Americans, love each other, and get that back.
Watching as President Trump was formally admitted into office, some say this time is extra special.
Unbelievable. We've been fighting for 4 years, and I knew it was going to happen.
It was a extra special, once-in-a-lifetime kind of thing where a president gets reelected after 4 years of not being in office. Pretty special.
Now, after the July assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania, and the second here in Palm Beach County, those we talked to say they worry for the president, but pray for peace. Todd, back to you.
All right, Rachel, thank you so much for that. Again, our coverage of the Inauguration Day is really just beginning. There's so much more to come. In just a few minutes, I'll talk about the inaugural events of tonight. Remember, there are several inaugural balls, concerts, and parties here in Washington, D.C. For now, I'll send it back to Felicia and Tiffany in the studio.
All right, Todd, thank you.
Our coverage of Donald Trump's second inauguration continues online right now on WPBF.com and on our free news app. ABC News will have a look at today's inauguration with special coverage tonight at 10. And then stay with us for WPBF 25 News at 11, where Todd McDermott will have another live report from Washington, D.C. Chris?
All right, Tiff, thank you. As we take a look outside, light showers continue, especially through most of southern Palm Beach County. Here's a look at live first warning Doppler radar. You can see basically from West Palm back out towards Wellington and down towards Boca Raton. Still got a little bit of light shower activity as it just won't quit again. So that's going to be the better rain chance. Most of the Treasure Coast, nice and quiet, still cloudy and very cool in a lot of locations. Upper 50s, Vero Beach, running to St. Lucie County, almost 60, Stewart into Jupiter, and a right 60 degrees right now from Royal Palm back out towards West Palm. Upper 50s inland again, cool, cloudy, and that's really not going to change, especially as we go into the early evening hours and as we head into the overnight hours, as we'll see again rain chances staying alive with cloudy skies through early evening and into the overnight hours. Numbers tonight going to stay put. They'll stay right about 60. More changes ahead as we take you into Tuesday, and we're also watching a winter storm develop. And we're still talking about snow across portions of Florida over the next 24 hours. We'll take a look at that detailed 7-day forecast in just a few. Tiff?
All right, Chris, thank you. Well, today is WPBF Day at the South Florida Fair. We've got a look at what to expect if you are heading out ahead of tonight's big parade.
And honoring the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the event to remember the civil rights leader today on the Treasure Coast.
You're watching WPBF 25 News, the most trusted news in the Palm Beaches and Treasure Coast. You're watching WPBF 25 News at 6.
Well, today is WPBF Day at the South Florida Fair, and a big parade is about to get started in just a few minutes.
First Warning meteorologist Glenn Glazer joining us now from the fairgrounds in West Palm Beach. Glenn.
Well, it's WPBF Day here at the South Florida Fair. Pretty big crowd considering it's kind of cloudy, a little bit rainy on and off. They're starting to set up for the parade behind me. You can see the floats coming out right now from the big warehouse area. And there's our WPBF float right there. You see our sign on the side. We're going to be in the float tonight. We hope you can join us. Let's turn around. I'll show you what's going on at the fair. Still all the rides are going. Over 200 rides, attractions, and food vendors. 2,000 exhibitors, and of course, a lot of agriculture too. If you're not into the food, you're not into the rides, we do have a lot of agriculture. You got cows, you got goats, you got alpacas. They even have a kangaroo there that you can check out. And we have $2 Tuesdays tomorrow. $2 admission to the fair, some $2 food items. BOGO Thursdays, you buy one ticket, you get one free. Come on down. South Florida Fair runs until February 2nd. Of course, WPBF, a proud sponsor of the South Florida Fair. We'll send it back to you guys.
All right, Glenn, thank you. Taking a look outside again, upper 50s and a cool evening. Again, feels more like the Pacific Northwest today. It feels more like Seattle. We've got 58 in Okeechobee, cloudy skies there, 57 in Indiantown, but Palm Beach County is the only county really getting in on the light shower activity that we have outside right now. So 58 to 60, that's going to be the temperature spread through this early evening because of the flow we have and also the cloud cover that we see right now. And everything is light. Here's a look at live first warning Doppler radar. You can see some light showers now just south of West Palm, down to Lake Worth Beach, all the way in towards Boca Raton, a few just to the southwest of Wellington. Widen the shot a little bit. So it's basically from West Palm down towards Broward County where we do get a little bit of that shower activity. Eventually it goes away before our storm system moves in for tomorrow as a cold front moves in again, and we up our rain chances again over the next 24 hours. So tonight, nice and steady temperatures, 60 to 62. Rain chances mostly across Palm Beach County, so keep that in mind. Watch tomorrow again. This is what we've been talking about. The winter storm developing first, Texas. Watch that area of low pressure, cold air coming down from the north. And we're still looking at snow and an ice accumulation just basically from Gainesville to Jacksonville, back out towards Tallahassee as we go into your Tuesday. On our side, it will be rain as that front continues to move down to the south tomorrow later in the afternoon. But again, watching out for that winter weather across North Florida. Yep, it is pretty rare to see that again for this time of year. Then as we head into Wednesday, the front still lingers across the area, so still got a little bit of a rain chance early Wednesday. Then as we head into next week, again, finally some changes as we find some high pressure building back in as we get into Thursday, into Friday. But then another kind of swoosh of colder air continues to move in as we head into next week as well. Wave height still bumpy out there, seas running 5 to about 6 feet across our area. Then as we head again into tomorrow, still looks bumpy, small craft advisory in effect with a light chop expected. Here's a look at South Florida certified most accurate forecast. 70 tomorrow, got a 40% chance for scattered showers, morning showers on Wednesday, some impact weather, and then we stay in the low 70s by Thursday, a few lingering showers. Then we get chilly, 64 the high on Friday, 67 after waking up to some 40s. Could be the coldest morning so far. And then finally, as we head into next week, a slow and gradual warm up back in the 70s. Tiff?
Chris, thank you. Well, today we celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Cities across our area are honoring the life and legacy of the prominent civil rights leader.
And that includes cities across the Treasure Coast. Our Jay Jarvis takes us to an MLK Day parade in Fort Pierce.
Whether from community organizations or schools, people all across the city of Fort Pierce coming out today to celebrate the life and achievements of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Countless floats, performers, marchers, and walkers made their way down Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in Fort Pierce for the annual parade in his honor. It's about remembering the work he did to ensure a better future for us all.
It is of all the very utmost importance to me because he gave his life so that we can be able to do things like this. Not just for the parade, but we'll be able to walk the streets, have values, live up to our morals, and do a lot of things that we probably wouldn't have gotten to do as early on as we have.
Students from Dan McCarty Middle School march in the parade each year, including their majorettes and cheerleaders. Principal Latricia Stubbs James says this is the conclusion of their week of kindness.
Now we're going to come together to really let everyone know that the change begins with us. And we're a community school. We're located right here in Fort Pierce, Florida. And we want to make sure that everyone knows that Dan McCarty is a school that supports not only Martin Luther King and his vision, but also supports our overall community of Fort Pierce.
And for those watching in the crowd, the devotion and reverence for the meaning of this day resonates just as deeply.
MLK has changed the trajectory of the United States. We forget sometimes, but every day and actually every year we can be reminded. It's not just on this day, it's not just in February, but that he made a change where poor people, rich people, black, white, and everything in between can come together and celebrate being one.
In Fort Pierce, Jade Jarvis, WPBF 25 News.
We'll be right back.
We continue our coverage of President Donald Trump's second inauguration.
Let's go back now to our co-anchor Todd McDermott joining us live from Washington, D.C. Todd.
Felicia, Tiffany, President Trump is doing a lot of talking today. He is now speaking to that adoring crowd in the Capital One Center that holds some 20,000 people just speaking now. Let's take a live look at the president sworn in at noon today as the 47th president, now speaking to that crowd. Remember, a couple 100,000 people were supposed to see him earlier today on the National Mall. Leading up to this address, a parade actually marched through the arena, which would have been the inaugural parade of Pennsylvania Avenue. The event, initially scheduled to take place outside, was moved into the arena, again because of that cold, 23 degrees with a wind chill of about 10 today. Among those in the parade, Palm Beach Fire Rescue and Florida firefighter pipes and drums. And the evening, of course, is not over yet. It's already been a long day for the president and the first lady, of course. They were actually even at the White House today meeting with President Biden and the first lady. But it's been long for them, long for the second family as well tonight. They're the series of inaugural balls. President First Lady will attend those, including the Liberty Ball and the Union Station Ball. There is another ball as well that's official and many unofficial balls here in Washington, D.C. Then tomorrow, the President and First Lady will travel to the National Cathedral to attend a service there. So much going on here, but again, at this point, it's really all about the party at this point on Inauguration Day and Inauguration Night. I'm Todd McDermott in Washington, D.C. More tonight on WPBF 25 News at 11. Let's go to Chris.
All right, Todd, thank you. Taking a live look outside our First Warning Skycam network downtown West Palm Beach. A little bit of rainy, a little bit cool, and it's one of those nights, as I was saying, it'd be great for your favorite soup. Like a bisque,
Ooh,
a chili.
Yes, a little tomato bisque.
Yeah, a lobster bisque. Let's just turn it up a little
beef
bit.
stew.
Yes, there we go. 70 tomorrow, a little bit warmer. Then you can see we'll be kind of cooling down a little bit. Friday's going to be your cooler day, 64 the high, and Saturday still looking at a pretty chilly morning. We'll be in the 40s there, and then we start to slowly warm up next week.
Well, thanks for joining us tonight. We'll see you back here at 11. Inauguration coverage continues on WPBF 25.